Hi, and welcome to Conversations with B'rith International. I'm CEO Dan Mariaschin. Thanks for spending some time with us today. If you enjoy our conversation series, make sure you never miss an interview by subscribing to the B'rith YouTube channel and liking us on Facebook. And of course, be sure to visit our website, b'rith.org, to learn more about our humanitarian and advocacy efforts across the globe. Well, more people die annually from cardiovascular diseases, CVDs, than any other cause. Nearly 18 million people, with a majority of these fatalities occurring in developing countries. Adding insult to injury, more than 90% of the world's population doesn't even have access to cardiac surgery. Thanks to innovations made by Israeli startup HeartPoint Global, or HPG, that may change very soon. As a pioneer of breakthrough medical solutions, HPG is paving the way for people to receive affordable, innovative cardiac care by bringing minimally invasive treatment to heart patients across the globe. Its patented implant system is the first and only patented non-surgical structural heart system that addresses a variety of life-threatening cardiovascular diseases in pediatric and adult patients. Leading HeartPoint's groundbreaking efforts is Chairman and CEO Seth Wagner. Seth is here to talk about HPG's breakthroughs, which will provide much-needed treatment for various life-threatening cardiac diseases, yet another example of Israel's innovation prowess. Seth Wagner currently serves as Chairman and CEO of HeartPoint Global, Inc. Prior to joining HeartPoint Global, Seth was the managing partner of Union Square Partners Limited and founded OR Partners, where he currently manages and serves on the board of directors of two licensed regulated mutual funds. Seth, so glad to have you with us here today.
Dan, thanks so much for having me. Great to meet you.
Well, you have a real interesting background in real estate and investing, among other things. You're an entrepreneur who is focused on creating businesses that are both profitable and socially responsible. What about healthcare what was it that interested you and eventually drew you into this space? And what are you doing now at HeartPoint Global?
Well, I was approached as an investor approximately 8 years ago to this project. And what attracted me as an investor was that there was a great humanitarian aspect to it, where we had a chance to make a huge difference in the world. And that huge difference is helping kids that are born with congenital heart disease that have really very few, if any, options right now. 90% of the world is underserved with cardiovascular care. And one of the inventors started something called the Eurasian Heart Foundation, which is operating in 25 countries around the world, which is bringing top-flight medical care to especially children that need it. So we made an investment. Things weren't going with the management that they had in there correctly. We saw the opportunity, or I saw the opportunity, and I thought this would be a bit of a legacy transaction where it's really a tikkun olam, giving back in a way where we could, take what was a great invention, make sure it had the proper patent protection, and then bring it out to the rest of the world. And that's what we're in the process of doing now. And as you probably hear, I'm a born American. I'm Israeli as well. And we started with a Swiss company. We moved it to Ireland. And then when we really wanted to put it into hyperdrive, we brought it to Israel, because things just happen faster in Israel, and the market there and the attitude there of our engineers, our medical team. We have a partnership with Hadassah Hospital for our trials. It really just brought everything into hyperdrive.
Well, there isn't anyone who either doesn't have some kind of cardiovascular issue or doesn't know someone who has it. And so this affects globally, this affects almost everyone, the work that you do. Tell us more about the team that you have, the scientists, the physicians, the engineers, the business professionals around the globe that you brought together to put this idea and this project forward?
Well, our chief medical officer is a guy by the name of David Planner. David Planner is the chief interventional cardiologist at Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem. David has been with us, or we affectionately call him Dudu, has been with us almost since the beginning and gave us a lot of the ideas. Paul Vogt is head of cardiac surgery at Zurich University Hospital, which is a top 10 hospital, cardiovascular center in the world. Paul was one of the conceptualizers of the original design, and has been very, very helpful, not only with his medical advice, but with his connections, because he's also the president and CEO of the Eurasian Heart Foundation, which I mentioned earlier, which brings us into so many jurisdictions. On my right hand is Hannah Ilshin. She's our COO. She's both European and Israeli based. And Brian Seidman, who's been my right hand, who I worked on and off with for 30 years. And we have a great regulatory team, which is led by Cathal Brennan. He's Irish, but he was the Irish representative for the change in the medical rules that they recently had in the European Union. Just a great group of people. It's 12 people altogether. And I get up every morning excited for my morning call with them, and they all got involved for the same reason I got involved. They wanted to help sick kids. Financial world's more interested for some of the other things we could do, which are help sick aging people that might need an artificial heart or a heart transplant. And we could, we provide a device that for a cost of about $4,000 can give a better quality of life, 2 levels on what they call the New York standard for people that have debilitating left heart disease. So you've cardiovascular disease. The biggest subsection of cardiovascular disease is left heart disease. And the biggest subsection of that is something called left ventricular cardiomyopathy. And we help that as well. And this is done in a groundbreaking way where we are putting a system of stents that could adjust up or down at any time, either at intervention, because it's a minimally invasive device, so people that can't sustain surgery can receive our treatment, or kids that are born with congenital heart issues or undetected congenital heart issues. And, not that that's such a huge problem now in the United States or Israel because of the level of our care, but every year there are 1 million kids in the world born with congenital heart issues, and right now we have a serviceable, attainable market globally of 34 million people. So it's amazing for the cost, for the minimal invasiveness, the adjustability, what we can do for so many different types of patients. And that's because of our groundbreaking technology. And it's amazing that, it's like, it's a simple solution, and it's sort of the best solution, because what we do is we adjust by using those Russian babushka dolls where one fits inside the other. That's our patent. That's what we do. We could adjust, and also we're working on a SaaS application so we could measure the pressure and flow in a patient's heart with a major European telecom just by putting the phone over your chest. So it's amazing stuff we're working on, and we're very happy to.
Let me ask you. You've got global in your name. We talked about your global team. But let's talk about the global when it comes to meeting the pressing health needs in the developing world. The figures about those hundreds of millions of people who don't have access to proper cardiac surgery. How are you looking at the developing world? How does that fit into the plan real time? Are there visits to places in Africa or other parts of the world where these needs are great? How does it work?
Well, we were very fortunate that there's a Jewish Swiss interventional cardiologist named Pierre Levis, who I met when I first made when I was first introduced to the program, and I saw him in the Ukraine, standing in a cath lab that was not the most sophisticated cath lab in the world, with 10 or 12 doctors around him, and he was instructing them on how to do a procedure. And not all of them were cardiac surgeons or interventional cardiologists or cardiologists for that matter. And I saw Pierre, I said, Pierre, why aren't we institutionalizing this? Right now, people go out, these great organizations that send doctors all over the world. Why aren't we training these doctors all over the world using your methodology? And he's like, yeah, we should be doing this. And that's how we adopted what's known as the Train the Doctor program that we're instituting, where it's not sending care packages, it's giving them the tools to farm. And we've already proven in our preclinical trials that a general surgeon can be trained very easily to do our procedure, not to take away anything from the great interventional cardiologists we work with around the world. But these are, it is a procedure that you could train a surgeon or cardiologist could do. I think there are only 50,000 interventional cardiologists in the world. It's some ridiculously.
So they come to Israel to train?
No. What happens is the way it's worked so far with the foundation is their missions. So you go out to, when I went on was originally in the Ukraine. They go to Uzbekistan or someplace like that, and they go and they do surgeries and interventions. And as they're doing these surgeries and interventions, we are training young doctors to participate in this. So it's part of the ethos of our company. I'm not sure if I said it earlier, but everybody who joined our company shares my vision of wanting to, bring this to the rest of the world. And this is what's been important to us. When you see a kid that has Eisenmenger syndrome and is blue, and a simple procedure like we're talking here to change his whole life, or you see an inoperable patient who has zero hope of getting artificial heart, an LVAD, that has an average cost in the United States anywhere over 10 years of $1 million. But he couldn't even stand the surgery, be able to get out of bed. These are the types of things that we at HeartPoint Global are trying to achieve.
Well, it's interesting. In our own family, I had a cousin whom I didn't know. I was a year old when he passed away. He was 12 years old when he passed away. This is probably 1950. He was known as a blue baby. There wasn't much that they could really do for him at the time, and he had one of the leading cardiologists in the country as his doctor, and they just couldn't help him. And then to move into the 21st century and to have this kind of innovation and moving so fast is really quite something. I want to ask you about the trials. 2022 has been a successful year for HeartPoint in terms of clinical trials. When are your next trials planned for? Where are you in the approval process with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration? And do you think that hospitals will be able to use, or how quickly will hospitals be able to use these patented solutions?
Yeah, we're just starting our clinical trials now, and we're very successful with our preclinical trials, and we've stress tested a lot. Unfortunately, we were scheduled to do all of our clinical trials in the Ukraine, but due to the unfortunate situation there. And by the way, we're not the only company. There were 200 clinical trials that were disrupted by this horrible war. We were forced to postpone them. We're going to be doing maybe next month or the month after, we're going to be in Azerbaijan doing our humanitarian cases, and then we will be in the EU for our full clinical, we're doing 2 clinical studies. One is on left heart issues and one is on congenital heart issues, which is taking care of not even half of the indications we can service. And, it's amazing that our product has just helped so many people in so many different situations. You talk about blue babies, you talk about even we could use our system in people that have liver issues or have cirrhosis of the liver. There's something called TIFs patients. They have the same issue interventionally, where you need to be able to adjust the flow and the pressure that come through. So we're now just we anticipate that we will, by all accounts, receive breakthrough designation from the FDA. We're doing our trials in the CE on purpose, and we hope that within 3 years in the United States we'll be able to start servicing people. In developing countries, much quicker. It depends on the country. Each country has its own rules, and we're hoping that maybe even by the end of next year we'll be able to start servicing people.
Are you hearing from doctors and hospitals in those places that they've heard about what it is you're doing, and we have a bunch of connections at least the Ministry of Health level and higher in a lot of locations. And there's not a doctor that doesn't see this that isn't jumping up and down. We fought our way through a lot of stuff. We've been self-funded up to this point, and we dealt with COVID. We were always sort of a virtual company with a lab first in Ireland, now in Israel. Now we're much more of a centralized company in Israel. But COVID, there's also this global supply chain shortage, which is we use something called PTFE to line our shafts that go through your body, which is now in the critical stage of global shortage. It's the synthetic Teflon. And we've been able to overcome all these different challenges that we faced. What do you see as some of the major needs in cardiology today? What role do you see emerging health technology playing going forward? Things like rising pollution levels or climate change issues affecting cardiovascular health, even COVID in terms of long-term effects, et cetera. What do you see out there in the near term? I see so much amazing stuff because we're located in Israel, and we see a lot of the technology that's coming down the pike. I sort of stay focused on the inequality in healthcare. In the United States, in Israel, in Western Europe, we're blessed. Even though costs are crazy in the United States, but we're blessed. The latest technology is open to you. But when you get outside there and a few other places, it's just not fair that you go to Southeast Asia, you go to Central Asia. It's mind-blowing what you see. Some of our doctors who participate in these missions, we were trying to get data from them, and we said, well, you did this patient, you told us this and that happened, you have a chart. I said, what about patient follow-up? He's like, you never see them again. You're lucky if you get a cell phone number. It's just the inequality is such an issue, and I think that's a huge issue when you go up into the macro. That there's this great wealth and that we possess in the Western world and in Israel that is just not shared. And I don't think that we should be, but I think we need to bring things back in balance. I think we need to give everybody the opportunity to get healthy. I think in healthcare in the United States, we're going to be a huge hit because, if somebody's looking at an average cost for an artificial heart of $1 million,
And our device for $4,000 plus the cost of a one-night hospital stay could help that patient. I don't think any healthcare provider or national insurer is going to turn us down. They're going to say, try this first before you get your artificial. But these congenital cases, there are in India alone something like 3 million cases of undetected congenital heart issues with kids and adults. And this is what we're really trying to do is face that injustice and treat it, be able to treat patients all over the world and make it accessible. And I think that this partnership that we set up with Eurasia to expand Eurasia, to allow them to do more and more missions in more and more places in the world. We're going to Nigeria next. Nigeria is a very wealthy country, but doesn't have the best healthcare system in the world. There's a lot of oil money in Nigeria, but not all people really get to share in it. So, as I said, it's tikkun olam. We have to try to help everybody, and that's the example that we need to set as Israelis, as Jews, for the rest of the world. It's very important to me.
Well, the word heart is in your corporate name, but you did mention a liver issue. What do you see as some of the future technical innovations for HeartPoint Global? Are you going to go beyond cardiovascular issues? Are there other
we got a lot of
out there?
We have every time I say we have 10 indications, when you talk to people in the investment community, they say, wow, that's going to cost a lot of money. And they're right. It is going to cost a lot of money to bring all 10 of these indications out. We are looking at other technologies. We have an amazing team, and that team is capable of doing so much more. And we love working. We're in Yokanam in northern Israel, which is just north of Haifa, and we love it there. It's close to the Technion. You get all that great energy from the young engineers coming down. Our chief technical officer came out of Technion and just came out off of a very company called Endospan that was a very successful exit. We are not focused on exit like a lot of companies. We're really focused on trying to service our community and our humanitarian goal, as well as our financial goals, of course. We're not, we believe in making money, but I believe that capitalism has to evolve. I believe that just making money for the sake of making money without giving something back is not good and is not healthy. And there's a new type of capitalism that's coming out of what we're doing and other companies are doing, and that's what I think the future of capitalism is. You can do good for the environment when you go ahead and you make electric cars. You can go ahead and create cement out of plastics. Is another company we looked at. But in the healthcare field, I think it's all about inequality. And how do you do that inequality? I think that a lot of companies, not being critical of anyone, but a lot of companies are just focused on the exit. We're focused on the solution, and that's what I think the difference is between us and other companies.
Well, there's something, Startup Nation just didn't get the name Start. I mean, I know one of the authors of the book, so it was a great name, and it certainly created that global, not just the global brand for Israel, but the global appreciation for the things that Israel, not enough appreciation for all of the good things that Israel does in so many different fields. But I think you would agree. I mean, there's a certain energy in Israel out there right now where new ideas and innovation and risk-taking in so many different fields is just, we talked about making the desert bloom. This is the 21st century version of making the desert bloom. And the fact that you're there and you're part of this, I think, is quite something.
Things just happen faster. I don't know whether it's our impatience, whether it's our wanting to succeed, but things just happen faster in Israel. And there's this whole ecosystem. I can tell you about the medical field. I can't tell you about every other field, even though I have friends in aerospace and, financial technologies and things like that. Everybody seems to know each other. Either everybody served in the army together or, but it's so amazing how, and this is the great thing about Israelis and Americans and why they get along so well. It's, there's a problem, it's not, oh my God. If there's a problem, is let's put our heads down and try to figure this out. And let's not get all out, leave this table till we figure out what the solution is to that problem. So that kind of can-do attitude, the energy, and also you have to say kudos to the government for creating the right kind of environment for starting a company. It's not easy starting a company in Europe, I can tell you that. There are all types of roadblocks that are put in the way of people starting companies in many countries. But in Israel, they're like, okay, how can we help? The Innovation Authority is amazing. The Office of the Chief Scientist is amazing. The way they work with you, the way that there are so many competitions and people are looking for jobs. And not only that, they're looking for the right type of company that matches them. And culturally, we're always looking for a special kind of person. And we always find that person in Israel. It has gotten very, very expensive over the last few years, but well worth the money. And I wish I had started the company in Israel and not been brought there. But it's there's always if all the pieces started falling together in Israel, I think you're getting kicked by upstairs to go there, and that's what happened with me. And I also have a son. I also have my oldest son lives there as well in Medellin, and he's working in a startup, and it's a great ecosystem, and it really is an ecosystem. I think you said that earlier. It's just built to succeed, and now what you had is everything first started in Tel Aviv, and then the government wanted it to be for the whole country, so they made it more advantageous to be in places like Yokohama, where we are, in Beersheba, to build a company, you get better tax advantages and things. It's a very responsible live system. Not only that, Israeli investors are smart. It's how they sort of created another whole ecosystem around the companies. So, as I said, we haven't really taken in any outside money yet, but I love speaking to guys in the investment community because they just give you ideas. They said, try this, and that's what's great about Israel. We're all in it together.
Well, learn more about HeartPoint Global's breakthroughs in cardiovascular health at heartpointglobal.com. Seth, great admiration for your work, for you and your team, what they're doing, using technology to reduce inequality in healthcare around the world. And we're excited really to see what comes next. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Dan. It was great meeting you, and I hope we keep in touch. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Seth Bogner for highlighting HeartPoint Global's pioneering medical technology that will save so many lives and loved ones. And thank you for tuning into this conversation with B'rith. Now, if you enjoyed this interview, make sure you tune in to all of our programs by subscribing to the B'rith YouTube channel and by liking us on Facebook. And be sure to visit our website, b'naibrith.org, to learn more about our important work, including our efforts supporting Ukrainian refugees, as well as those still within Ukraine's borders more than 6 months into the war. For my guest, Seth Bogner, and for B'rith, I'm Dan Mariaschin. Join us again soon.